Hilchos Melochim Berg Zayin Halacha Tes. Call Elu Shechoyzim Merchem Melchoma. All those who go back from the war. We'll look in the Peirush. We're going to explain it more so in the next Halacha. Because Shiurim is the Kohen, when they hear the words of the Kohen, do not go to their homes. They act as the supply people for water and food to their brothers at war, and they have to prepare the way so that the roads are open, but they just don't go into battle. These following do not go out to battle at all, and we'll go down to the Peirush. And you do not cause them to have to do anything at all, even though there is no need for them in the war. The person who built a new house and is living in it, and the one who married his betrothed, or he went through levirate marriage to his brother who passed away without sons. Somebody who he planted his orchard, and collected the food, and it is an entire year that he does not go out to war. Shenema, as it says in Devarim 24, verse 5, Noki Yelabeis Shana Achas. He should be free to his home 1 year. He should make her happy, the wife that he took. From tradition, we know that 1 year, both for the house as well as for his wife, or for a vineyard. The posuk is only talking about by the wife. Now adds that this applies as well to the others. As the Mishnah cites in Mishnah Sota 43a. This halacha has a positive commandment and a negative commandment. At the beginning of Hilchos Melochim, he writes that there are 23 mitzvahs. 18, they should go ahead and marry and build a house and cultivate a vineyard, are happy and be happy for a year, quiet for a year, and they go back. That's a mitzvah say. These are 1 and 19 that they do not have to go out even for the needs of the city and the needs of the regiment, etc. That's a negative commandment. And this is the 18th and the 19th mitzvah. And so he counts it in Sefer HaMitzvahs. In positive commandment 2:16, that he has to have the chosim with his wife for a whole year. He shouldn't leave the city, he shouldn't go out to the war, and he should not do any of those things which are similar to them. And you shouldn't go outside of the city like in Yerushalmi and Soita Ches Halacha Ches. And the Rambam concludes that you stay and keep her happy until a whole year from when he has married her, and that's what it says. Noki Yelabesa, he should be free to his home 1 year, make his wife happy, the wife he took. He writes furthermore in Negative Commandment 3:11 that we are commanded from taking out a chosr from his house for 1 year, to trouble himself with anything, not for the army, not for anything else. We'll see the mitzvah is on us, that we should not take him from his house. And he adds, for any of the necessities, as in Halacha Yud Aleph, even for that fixing of the city, he doesn't go out. And we should leave him alone for 1 year. Anything that would cause him to leave his house, it says anything. He should not do anything, and that includes anything. He brings the Soita 44a. He should go out into the war. I might think he goes out to fix the vessels of the warriors, or to give water and food. So it says, now they shall pass over him for anything. All of on him you do not do anything, but others you cause them to remain. The more questions why does it say you should not go out to the war? And the answer that there should be two lavim. It should seem to be an additional forbiddenness. And he concludes, we already explained in the ninth, the Rambam concludes in the ninth root of how we configure the mitzvahs, that not every two lavim are two mitzvahs. Therefore, it's counted as only one mitzvah. We count the mitzvahs because they have one purpose. You should know that the Chazan himself is also commanded to go out from his house, not to go out, leave his house for business a whole year, and not only are we commanded to stop him from being bothered. The Ritva argues that there's a mistake that fell into the translation of the Rambam from the Peirush HaMeir was written in Aramaic, and when they translated it, you can't say you shouldn't go out at all, because for himself, to make money and to make her happy, he can, because if he doesn't have what to eat, that's not a good happiness. The Binas Odom, the Chochmas Adam argues that it's not a mistake. He points out Likutei Pardes and Chinuch that they also write that he doesn't go out to work at all. The Chinuch in Mitzvah Tuvkuf Pei Aleph, which is 581, is of the opinion that there are two mitzvahs, a positive commitment and a negative. That he's obligated to refrain from going out to work for a whole year, away from his home, like the Rambam. And he adds, he also commanded that the Chosun should be happy with his wife 1 year. He shouldn't go outside the city to go to battle, and not for any other reasons. And every person should stay and make his wife happy 1 year. And this applies to every place and every time. And somebody who separates from his wife during the first year, even though she forgives him, he nullified this positive commandment. Still, somebody wants to go for a mitzvah or to be with his friends on condition that he returns after a short period of time. It would seem that he does not nullify the mitzvah. There are those who say that with her permission, he may do so. The Chochmas Odom permits it. He says somebody who marries a woman has to stay in a city for a whole year to be with her and make her happy. And says he should not go out to war, and he should make her happy. And he cites Likutei Pardes and the Chinuch. And so it would seem say for our mitzvahs. He should not go outside the city or to the army. He should make her happy. The Rambam didn't write it, that even though to go out to business, he's not commanded with a lav, but he's commanded from the fact that he's supposed to stay home and be happy with his wife. And the question of the Radvaz, if you don't have money, how can you make your wife happy? He answers that if she forgives him, permits it, he's not liable, and therefore he can go out and get food. But the Ramban is the opinion that there are two mitzvahs, that the person who takes him out to do work transgresses on the negative commandment that he's not allowed to do something. The one who takes him out to war has the second transgression. The Rambam made a mistake that because the one who fixes the weapons, gives water and food, and he fixes the ways, does transgress on he should not do anything at all. And he does not transgress on he should not go out to the war. That's only on the people who go into battle, and he's not amongst them. But somebody comes from into the war, he would transgress on two forbiddenesses, because the forbiddenness of the second one adds to the first one, and so we find it in the Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah. Esther wants to explain that the Rambam didn't count it as two separate prohibitions, Because Besoita, in Masechta Soita would seem that he always transgresses both, even if he gives water. He only goes out to take care of the water and the food. And even though the Ramban argues that if he goes out to do that, he does not transgress because he's not in the battle, the Megillah says he disagrees, that it is considered part of the army. But if it's not for the army, he would not be included in the forbiddenness. Leiv Simcha and Sefer HaMitzvahs points out from the Rambam, and he should know that the Chos himself is commanded not to leave his house for work a whole year, because he's of the opinion that if you go out to war, you transgress on, you should not do anything, because war includes kol dover, is included in kol dover. Therefore, he adds, you should know that you shouldn't go to work either. And even though he learns it from Le'ava, he should not go out and do it, only that he should not prepare the weapons, he should not give water and food. He's also commanded from going out to do work, because that's called over, that's included in anything. Thus, everything is included in every prohibition, and therefore the Rambam didn't count it as two, because they're intermingled, the two concepts. The Mishnah infers from Sefer HaMitzvahs in our Halacha that he shouldn't do anything else in the world, that a chosen is commanded and not the person who takes him out. But the Rambam brings to the posting in Dvarim 24 verse 5, he should not go out to the army and he should not do anything. That the army is told that they should not cause the person to do anything, to be even to be appointed upon them, or anything that they need, such as water, or he should only take care of his simcha, and that's the correct translation. That on him doesn't talk about the person himself, the chosim, but rather on the army that's mentioned previously. That's the subject of the posuk. The Lechem Mishnah explains that the intent of the Rambam was that it's simple what it says in the posuk, but our teachers, our rabbis, explained that it is a warning for others as well, as the Re'im points out. The Chidor argues the Rambam is discussing the words of Rashi and Chazal. According to them, there are two prohibitions, and they count it as two mitzvahs. And furthermore, the Chidor explains that in Sefer HaMitzvahs he writes, you should know that a chosim himself is warned not to leave his house the entire year to do work, and then it has to be two mitzvahs. Not going to the army is one forbiddenness, and not going to work is another one. He cites in Tshuva 7 Vaz that the nusach that's in front of us in the Rambam, not to go out to work, is not correct. But he asks on the Megillah Esther, who writes that he does have to take care of the water and the food is for the needs of the army, but not for the needs of the army. He's not warned. He may do so. According to Sefer HaMitzvahs, as we have it in the text, he's forbidden to do any business, that even if it has nothing to do with the army. The Chassam Sofer cites the Chinuch. The Ramban, you should not go out to war, is talking about the chosim. It says that since he's commanded regarding it is only to the needs of the army for work, he's permitted to go. And so the Re'im is of the opinions. Some Sefer infers so from Halacha Yud Aleph, and he understands that that's also the opinion of the Smag. The Smag, so which is cotton, counts the mitzvahs that are present today, and therefore he doesn't bring this concept that he should not go out to the war, and he should not work. That's only when there's a kingdom to Yisrael and they go out to war. But the forbiddenness to go out to business would seem to be, even today, according to the Chinuch. Some Sefer further infers from Sefer HaMitzvahs, positive commandment 214, negative 311, that he should be clean at home is only regarding war. He adds that Choshen himself is commanded not to leave his house for work the entire year, because he feels that even though he has two separate prohibitions, they're not counted like two mitzvahs. The Ramban disagrees that even if only the one who goes out to the army transgresses the two negative commandments, since he gives water and food, he does not transgress and he should not go to war. Only he transgresses only one prohibition, that he should not leave the house. And if that's the case, the Rambam should have counted it two mitzvahs. And he's besides Megillas Esther, who's the opinion of the Rambam. According to the Rambam, if he goes to war and he supplies water and food, you do transgress two negative commandments. And Ma'in Chochma, the Sam Sefer, cites that the Ramban is, according to his opinion, that he should not go out, also is a warning for the person. Therefore, it's considered two negative commandments on two types of forbiddennesses. But the Rambam is the opinion, like the Rae Gann, that he should not go out to do any work, is a warning to the army. It has nothing to do with the army having a transgression. It goes on him that he shouldn't go, or that he shouldn't permit himself to be taken, and therefore is considered one mitzvah. I guess the law is on other people, not on the army. There's no concept of an army being forbidden. If you don't have some sort of a question, if we'll say that a chosen who goes out to do work transgresses on this prohibition, then it's a meaning that one prohibition applies to the army, one to work, then you cannot forbid him. He does not get punished for not going to the army when he goes to work. The Rambam's question comes up: why isn't it counted as two mitzvahs? Therefore, the Chassam Sofer is of the opinion that neither the prohibition or a positive commandment that the Rambam say, but rather he said it from logic that since the Torah said that we should not make it a heavy yoke on somebody who marries a wife because of war, I'm sorry, this mitzvah of to be festive with his wife and not to go out to work applies as well. But it's not a part of the positive or negative commandment. And that was why the Rambam says you should know. If you look into the concept of it, that since the Torah said you shouldn't make it a heavy yoke on him if he marries a wife the first year, therefore he shouldn't go out to work. And he cites that the chinuch is of the opinion that the positive commandment and the negative commandment are applicable today by a chosen that he can't go out to work. And the reason is because he's obligated to be having with his wife for a whole year, and then he won't have any desires for any other woman. And that applies even to go out to work. Just that some sort of questions, how could this mitzvah be applicable to somebody who plants a vineyard or builds a bayis like the Rambam Melochim? You can't say that. From Sforah we learn that that the reason he has to stay home for the year is in order that he should not covet somebody else's house or the vineyard of somebody else. And he questions this Chaim Sofer does. So how could the Rambam learn that Noki Yelabesoim applies to somebody who married a wife, and it should apply to if he builds a house and he has a vineyard, and he should be forbidden to go out to do business. And he cites the Tamei HaMitzvahs, explains that the first year a person is involved with the love of his wife. He can't go out to war in order that he should not become he should not cause the war to be lost because of his thoughts about his family. And that fear is even applicable to somebody who's thinking about his house and his vineyards. According to this, it would be permissible for a person to go out of business. Because there we're not concerned. So if he's thinking about his wife and he loses his money, that's not our problem. It could be the chinuch would admit to this reasoning, and therefore, by a house and a vineyard, he would be able to go out to business. Just that by a wife, there's another reason, because we don't want him to stray from his own wife. The Sam Sofer adds, and even though the logic would be that anything that applies to marrying a wife applies to the vineyard or the house, he shouldn't be able to go out for business. We can differentiate that if he's marrying a woman, he can't go out to work. But if he plants a vineyard or a house, there's no forbiddenness. And he concludes, and this is a basic part of our religion, but I do not know who gave us permission to enact or implement laws according to our logic, and therefore he says, going to the chinuch, all three, he couldn't go out to work. He adds that even going to the chinuch to go out to Talmud Torah, it's mutter, like we find in Subas 62b, and even right after marriage, because the chinuch writes that for mitzvah it's mutter. Some Sofer says that for business that regarding this, it's called a dvar mitzvah. Therefore, if he asks from his wife for permission, he can do so. Like the opinion that she can forgive, and we shouldn't be stringent with this regard, because most of the poskim, the codifiers, saying that the forbiddenness to go to work is not included in the negative commandment or the positive commandment, and it's rather a logical step. And he goes into this. The Steichemet goes into this. The Mel's Chinuch questions why didn't the Chinuch mention Malchus on these if he transgresses. The Rambam Hilchos, when he mentions those who get Malchus, does not mention these either. Because if the head of the army took them out to the Melochim or for other things, and he did an action, why shouldn't he get Malchus? Why should not a person not get Malchus? And he leaves it with a question, he doesn't conclude with an answer.